My name is Naomi Kemp and I'm the Chair of the Australian Institute of Health and Safety. It's my honour to be presenting the 2020 Best Emergency First Aid Response. We would like to thank our major sponsors, Zenergy Recruitment and LivCorp, who are the sponsors of the Best Emergency First Aid Response Award. Without the support of our sponsors, awards like this would not be possible. To be eligible for this award, a nominee must have responded to an emergency first aid event which occurred within the Australian work environment within the last 12 months. In assessing the nominations for this award category, the judges were looking for how the emergency incident occurred, what processes was involved in the first aid response, what was the outcome of the response, and what exemplary skills were demonstrated throughout the first aid response. The finalists for this award category are
Finalist Annabelle Limmer, Customer Service Supervisor, Swissport, Perth Airport. Annabelle Limmer is nominated for a perfectly executed first aid response. Discovering that a guest had collapsed, was unconscious and unable to breathe, Annabelle placed the guest in recovery position and commenced CPR as the guest went into cardiac arrest. With the support of other personnel, Annabelle was able to stabilise the guest's breathing until medical staff arrived. The guest survived the ordeal and went on to have bypass surgery. Finalists Clive Bacon, Terry Turner and Harriet Tomlin. Lynn Fox. Clive Bacon, Terry Turner and Harriet Tomlin are acknowledged for their bravery, spontaneity, exemplary teamwork and incredible actions exhibited to save a subcontractor who suffered a severe heart attack while delivering goods to their warehouse. Emergency response teams attending the scene noted that without the exceptionally quick actions of this team, the outcome would have been different for the individual involved. Finalist Andrew Hastings. Andrew Hastings is recognised for his quick thinking, leadership, courage, selfless actions and compassion towards others. Andrew attended a serious vehicle collision and went to the aid of multiple motorists who had been trapped or injured. Andrew was responsible for freeing trapped motorists from a burning vehicle, saving the lives of at least 2 people involved in the incident. Andrew then attended a second vehicle, climbed into the passenger seat to comfort and reassure the driver in his final moments before succumbing to his injuries. Andrew's conduct as a professional driver before, during and after this critical incident is a credit to him and an outstanding example to others. And the winner of the Best Emergency First Aid Response is Andrew Hastings.
Congratulations to Andrew on winning the 2020 Best Emergency First Aid Response Award. I would now like to hand over to Anthony Hapshell, National Training Manager for LivCorp.
I'd like to introduce to you Andrew Hastings, the winner of the first emergency first aid response. If you could just tell me, when you came up to this accident, what was going through your mind? So if you wouldn't mind just going through the incident itself and kind of tell me what was going through your mind as you were approaching.
I departed a service station just outside of Balan after filling up the truck and progressed along the Western Highway heading towards Nil. And I'd heard a bit of banter on the radio to say that a car had hit a tree. And as I got a little bit closer, I could see about 14-foot, 12-foot high flames coming out of a maxi taxi laying on its passenger side and another car that was facing across the highway. So my sort of thought originally was to get my truck off the road and move across the laneway so that EMS needed to get through. I could do that. Then I seen the flames coming up a bit higher, so I ran over to the cab and couldn't hear anything at that time, and then ran over to the other car and seen that there was an old gentleman quite stuck in there. So it came back to me from an emergency lesson I had to deal with from one of my parents being a chronic asthmatic, was Dr. ABC, which is danger response, airways, breathing, circulation. So to me, the problem was the danger, which was the taxi on fire. As I was running back, I could hear the woman screaming in the cab. So I grabbed my fire extinguisher, ran back to the taxi, and it sort of assisted the taxi driver to get out of the cab, and then started to work on the fire, because those maxi taxis have hydraulic fluid, and I thought if that fire catches onto that hydraulic fluid, it's going to be a lot worse. So I used my fire extinguisher quite rapidly, and then yelled out for other people to give me theirs, and I went through 8 of them to suppress the flame. And a ladder came out of nowhere, so I got up on the ladder and got the woman out of the taxi. At that point, once she sort of was out, there was a few other people sort of clambering around. So I thought, I'm in the way there, I'll get over and help the old man in the car and just keep him sort of comfortable, because I could pretty well guess what the outcome was. It wasn't looking good for him. Once the sort of EMS sort of turned up, I pried open the back door and jumped in the back of his car and just sat with him, just keep him calm. Just needed a human touch instead of being, confused and injured. So my thoughts during all of it is to just, I couldn't let that woman burn. I couldn't let her get any more than what it was. And when my focus attention turned to the old man, I put into my head that, if that was my grandfather, I would hope that someone would do the same, just to give him a level of compassion and to feel loved, really, like to feel like someone was there holding his hand, or patting his head, letting him know that there was a human touch. So
Yes.
It was a little bit longer after that. I sort of stepped away from it, because I felt that I was in the way of the SES, and really I'm not trained medical or anything like that. So he's in the best of hands. And it wasn't long after that he succumbed to his injuries, sadly.
Yeah. So considering the scenario itself, and you mentioned that you remembered your DRS ABCD.
Yeah, Dr. ABC. Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Was that through any formal training that you'd done before, or was it something that you'd seen and you remembered at that specific time?
My mother was a chronic asthmatic, so I've been a real first responder in a weird way since I was a kid. We lived in a very small house, and there's a few times that she had bad asthma attacks, and I'd had to push her out on my skateboard, or it was really very hard, single mum and 2 kids. But I did about 3 weeks of St. John's ambulance training when I was very early on in teenage years, I think about 11 or 12. And then I did a first aid certificate in, I think it was in 2008. It's just, I've remembered that Dr. ABC from a kid. It's just always been in my head. Just get rid of the danger first, and then we'll respond to everything else after that. And the way that I look at it is if they're making noise, or if they're bleeding, or if they can talk to me, then I can move on to someone that isn't. So anyone that can't tell me, or can't make a noise, or can't do something, to me, they're the ones that I need to go to. So if they're telling me that it hurts, they can communicate.
Yes. So within that scenario, when you approached the emergency, immediately your brain went straight away to this DRS ABCD.
Correct.
So,
contain the danger.
All right. So do you believe that, based on your training that you'd received in the past, and of course your compassion for human life, that coupled together put you in a good situation in how to manage that scene?
Yeah, yes, I do. Yeah, it was a reactive thing. Yeah.
Yes. Do you, again, in your opinion and based on what you've been through, do you feel that it is beneficial and necessary that people should be learning to do some sort of first aid, because you never know what situation that you may turn up in?
I completely endorse it. I've said this before that, 5 or 10 seconds of first aid can be the big difference between life and death. So any sort of help in any sort of situation is a good thing to say, yeah, I do believe that it's a help.
Is there anything that you would advise others to do if they were in a situation like that?
I guess in every situation that I've ever been in is eliminate the danger first, because I sort of see it as you're not able to help someone if you've been hurt yourself. So removing that dangerous element safely is probably the first point of advice that I would give. And then take each situation on its own merit. Some situations you can help with first aid, and some situations you can help with just a bit of compassion and understanding until properly trained professionals can come and help. But every situation is different. Every situation has a different outcome. So me personally, I've removed the danger. Stop what could hurt you, and turning one person injured into two. That would be my answer.
The whole situation and the whole scenario must have been very, very traumatic for you. And sometimes these things can stick with you for quite a while afterwards. How have you managed that situation since the incident? How have you gone about managing that?
My employee, my site manager, my friend, all communicate to me a lot. And I was offered the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program. At any given time, they've all expressed it. I'm welcome to make a phone call to them to talk. I've really got a really strong network of communication for my workmates and my management and upper management that have always said, if you want to have a chat, give me a ring anytime. And there has been times that I've done that. But I find that talking about it is a good outlet for me to de-stress from it, if you will, or to move forward from it. And me talking about my experiences sort of gives people insight into how I process it. And I find, as I said, talking about it is a very cleansing thing to me. Yeah. My partner is very supportive, my family. So I guess the more communication you have with your friends and family and management, and having the opportunity to do the EAP, my employer's been fantastic. So I very well appreciate all of that.
Andrew, I'd like to thank you for being such a brave individual and for being there for the person that needed you most in that situation.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony, and congratulations again, Andrew. Thank you all for watching today's presentation, and thank you to our sponsors for making the Australian Workplace Health and Safety Awards possible.